guys, welcome to week 2 of my Book a Week Club Challenge. Last week was The Couple Next Door, and this week, as I said last week, is The Girl Before by J.P. Delaney, who is a pseudonym. I hope you've enjoyed the read, and I'm going to be going through what I think of the book. So J.P. Delaney is as it says in the back of the book, a pseudonym for a writer who has previously written best-selling fiction under other names. And the book has been published in over 32 countries, and a film version is being brought to the screen by Academy Award-winning director Ron Howard, which I'm very, very, very intrigued to see. That would be brilliant. I did not know that. I've just read that now, so very excited. So I read an interview with J.P. Delaney before I did this review, and after I read the book, and because I wasn't sure if it was a guy or a girl, or not that really matters, but it's I like to know a bit more about the author and what they've done and stuff, like even if it's just like what their job was. So, and Owen really found out that it's a guy because he said that he was very similar to both Emma and Jane, but the only thing different about them was their gender, so obviously he's a male. The book's in first person, and it goes between then with Emma and now with Jane, and it goes between the two narrators. The chapters are quite short and snappy, which it makes it an easy read, but sometimes, you know, you like a bit more. Each chapter usually mirrors each other, so say if Emma's gone to buy a house with her partner, Jane's just gone by the house. They both move into this house. There's a lot of strings that come with the house. There's questions that they have to fill in. It's a very selective process. They get the house really cheap, and I'm not really sure why. And I really enjoyed the descriptions of the house. It sounds like somewhere I want to go and see, and I'm very excited if there is a film version to see like what the house actually turns out like. And the house I feel like it's a character in itself. It's Edward's creativity gone into. A part of Edward is in that house. So the first bit of the book is just, like, you know, you learn about both the characters, why they would go to this house, you know, because the estate agent sort of warns them about all the strings that are attached, and there's questions throughout the novel, throughout the entire thing, of the questions that he's asked them, which was a nice touch. I kind of like that. I don't like it was spread out through the book. Edward, on the other hand, is definitely the character that changes things a little bit for both of the characters, and he's sort of like there's a massive question mark around Edward for the majority of the novel up to the end. Edward, you think that at one point I'm like, is he like a serial killer? Is he crazy? Is he like unhinged? And then I'm like, okay, maybe he's just a decent guy. And then there's the whole thing about his past and his own family, and then, you know, as you find out about what happened to Jane sort of is bits and bobs through the novel. She sort of like meets a few people who warns her about Edward, and even though she's going through the same pattern as Emma, and she looks a bit similar to Emma as well, and even you find out later in the novel Edward's ex-wife. So there's a lot of mystery surrounding Edward. He's like a big suspect for the entirety of the novel, even though I did kind of fathom that he didn't really have anything to do with what happened to Emma, because obviously a big part pushing the novel is what did happen to Emma. Then I'd say about a quarter of the way, midway through the book, there's a big portion where it gets a little bit 50 Shades of Grey-esque, where Edward's this controlling Mr. Grey character, and both of the characters, even though in a slightly different way, both of them sort of fall into it, and they want that, and they sort of need that, and Emma leaves Simon, and Jane sort of is kind of what she needed right now. And then obviously the mystery comes even more, like I said, when Jane finds out that she looks a bit like Emma, and then she starts to find like a sleeping bag in the house, and she's a bit unsure what's going on. And then even later in the novel there's a few malfunctions with the house, so there's the whole like I said, the house is a massive presence, and the house and Edward have a big question mark around them for a long portion of the novel. Now, spoiler alert, I don't know what you thought about the whole thing, but obviously it turns out at the end of the novel that it was Simon who killed Emma as like a lover's thing. He wanted Emma to himself, and that I wasn't sure about Simon for the majority. I thought it was just a bit soppy and a bit soppy and a bit like a lad's lad who didn't really have much going on for him. So when that happened, I was a bit surprised. However, there wasn't many suspects to suspect apart from Edward. And when I sort of like, after the period of doubt between Edward, the only real person left was Simon. And when he started coming back into the novel a little bit more, I did start to question why he was coming back, because I thought at the end of the novel, when at the beginning, when he has like a conversation with Jane and then goes, watch out for Edward, I thought that'd be it for Simon. So when he started to come back, I did question it a little bit, and I was surprised a little bit, but it was a nice choice, and I'm glad that it wasn't Edward who was the notorious murderer in the end. So after we find out about what happened to Emma, the narration stops for first person of Emma, and it's just sort of silence from Emma, and then it just goes to Jane. And obviously the climax is, as she's getting closer to Simon, is Simon going to do the same thing to her, blah blah blah. So I'm not going to tell you how that ends or anything, but there's some really great moments in this book. I love the presence of the house, and the start of the novel is very intriguing. Like, I love the contrast as well between Emma and Jane, and you're sort of seeing the same patterns happen. And as Jane is sort of like our eye for Emma, because as Jane finds out the next chapter, we find out what happened to Emma. So we're kind of like took on this journey through Jane. And there is some also a few nice details into character, you know, such as Jane and her loss. There's a deal of loss there, and Emma had her well, Emma's like I said, I'm not really sure how I feel about Emma, because she did lie about the whole thing, and she was going to send someone to jail and everything, and because in the start of the novel you think that, you know, I felt a bit sorry for her because she got robbed. The pace of the book is really easy. Like I said, the chapters are quite short and snappy. It's up to, I don't know whether you would have, when you liked the choppiness or you didn't like the choppiness of the book, because the chapters aren't really lengthy. I think one of the longest chapters was, I think that it had to be no less than like 10 pages. Like, that's the longest chapter there was. And sometimes it was literally the case, it would be Emma for a page and then Jane for a page, which helps it easy to read, because I don't know why, but sometimes when I go into another chapter I'm like, yes, I'm ploughing through and I'm going through the chapters. However, sometimes it was a little bit monotonous, going so much back and forth between Jane and Emma. The book stands at about 400, I think it was. Yeah, just over 400 pages, so it's not that much of a lengthy book, but I think that was there wasn't a filler space or anything, even though there was quite like a journey of a few different like moods in the book, such as there was, like I said, there was the romance phase with Edward, then there's the suspense phase, the climax phase, and then there's the beginning phase where there's like this sort of equilibrium state where they all just come and move into the house and think that everything's going to be okay. I'd be very, very intrigued to see how the visualness of this book actually turns out, if it actually does get made into a movie, because so many times books are said they're going to be made into films and then it doesn't actually happen, or they're not as good or don't live up to the book. So hopefully if it does get produced by Ron Howard, it would be a very interesting book, and I'd love to see how the plot works out in that sense, even though sometimes it's a bit annoying when you actually know the ending of the book. But I love visually seeing a book after I've read it. Comment below also to tell me what you thought of the book. Is there anything that you would have changed? Is there anything that what did you think of the whole short chapters, the back and forth between Jane then and now? Would you read the book again? Would you recommend it? Let me know. Overall, I'd definitely say give The Girl Before a read, especially, like I said, if you're into this whole Gone Girl thing at the moment, this Gone Girl, The Girl Before, where again someone's kind of gone missing in the past, but like I said, there's some really nice, unique things in this book, which I definitely recommend reading it. It's a great page turner. You'll fly through the book, and even though you might have mixed feelings towards the characters in the book, the story and the plot are really strong, and there isn't a moment when you don't want to keep going on. Like, you know, sometimes you read a book and then you have like this mood period where you're a bit like, do I want to keep going, do I not? You definitely won't have that with Go Before. It's a definite page turning, you want to plough through it. I think it took me just over like 5-6 days to read without really trying, so it's quite an easy book to read as well, standing at 400 pages. Let me know what you think. Like I said, definitely recommend it, and I'm intrigued to know who this JP Delaney is and what other books he's done and stuff. Next week's book is going to be I Saw a Man by Owen. So if you, again, please continue doing my book book a week club challenge with me, because I'm really enjoying reading a book a week. I've never read this much before, and I'm really enjoying learning about like different characters, different writing style, and I just can't wait to keep reading. I'm very excited to see what I Saw a Man is. So if you want to do it, read I Saw a Man by next week with me. Let me know what you thought of The Girl Before. What did you think of the characters, the story? Did you like it? Is there anything more you want me to go through in these little book? I'm not trying to review per se, but I'm just trying to like talk about like little points that I thought, because and little things I noticed and things I liked and things I didn't like and stuff. But in this week and last week's books, there isn't much that I've disliked, apart from a bit about this week, a bit of the unlikable characters. Apart from that, I loved the plot, loved the story, really engrossing. Some great themes of loss, and even though I didn't like Emma for parts, I love a complicated character, because humans are complicated. So I love that she's a bit of a pathological liar, and she admits that. She's not embarrassed by that. Yeah, so The Girl Before, let me know what you think. And if there's any other books you want me to jot on the list, I think I've got like 8 at the moment, which I've got to get through. So if there's anything you'd recommend me reading, I'll pop it on the list. Preferably something a bit recent, because I'm trying to go through like the books at the moment, and then like maybe I'll do a few older books as in. But I'm trying to plough through like the recent book summer releases to plough through them. But I've got I think about 8 that I'm going to go through and read through. So yeah, I Saw a Man next week. Owen Shears. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed this week's book, The Girl Before. And if you're doing the challenge, I hope you're enjoying it, and let me know what you think. And if you're not really much of a reader, you find it hard, are you enjoying reading so much more? It sort of inspired me to write a bit more as well, because I love writing as well. So I've been putting my pen to paper a little bit and doing some writing as well. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I Saw a Man next week. See you next Friday.